iRacing.
With halfway of the season done, it is time to start things up for the second half here for the Skip Barber Sim Series here, and you'll see it all on the Global Sim Racing channel. I'm Joe Peak. With me in the booth is Craig King. And I have to say, Craig, I am looking forward to today because Phillip Island almost always manages to put on a good show in the Skippies.
Yeah, it always delivers just something. It just delivers something for everybody. It's an old school track in Australia, but it's a track that has got a lot of love on the sim.
Well, in case you are not used to this track, why don't we take a moment to check our lap guide here and take a closer look. Welcome to Phillip Island. As the name implies, this track is located on a splotch of land off the south coast of Australia near Melbourne. While there's been plenty of racing here for close to a century, the track's current incarnation has only been around since the late 80s. And this version is a doozy. With only 12 turns spread across the roughly 4.5 kilometers, it's a decently fast circuit. But what really makes this place stand apart is the incredible variety in those few corners. From negative to positive camber, early apexes, late apexes, blind crest, hairpins, sweepers, if you name it, it's probably got it. On top of that, the front stretch tends to offer up a slipstream with its incredible length, but it then forces the drivers into a game of chicken by chucking them into the frightening doing. Corners like Lukey Heights stretches a car's grip to the limit and then shocks you with a sudden downhill braking into MG. Retaining something of an old school twist, unlike most modern courses, Phillip Island has earthen embankments running along many parts of the track. While it's meant to keep the cars safely retained within the circuit's confines, anyone unfortunate enough to manage to jump them will be faced with a ton of damage for their troubles. A variety of types of racing take place at the track, including motorcycles, lower-level open-wheelers, and touring cars. Possibly the most well-known among those is the Australian Supercars Championship. With the Aussie reputation of having dangerous, difficult, and challenging circuits, Phillip Island certainly holds up to the standard. The beautiful views of the beach and the ocean may lure some of the fans in, but there's no doubt that the incredible racing at this unique track keeps them around.
Well, this is a track that provides a lot of opportunities for the drivers around here today, because it's a track that just gives you a few heavy braking points, which will be vital when it comes to these Skip Barbers. You look at turn 4, Miller Corner, that's a heavy braking zone. And of course, you also look at turn 10 when you come down Lucky Heights into turn 10. Those are the two big braking points on this track. But you gotta remember, this used to be a track that F1 came here back in the old days, before even I was born. But this was a track that has a lot of flow, so look for the drivers to really attack into turn 1 at Doon Corner, because that is the type of corner where the weight balance of the car, the transfer, is going to be very vital. Elevation change, very different around here, but that is what you get in these cars. So balance the car precisely, and hopefully, Joe, these drivers should be keeping it clean.
Exactly, especially with the championship on the line here, Craig. Why don't you walk us through that real quick?
Yeah, well, remember, we have 2 drop rounds in the championship, so Adam Mars may have won last week at VIR. However, with no drop weeks, Miguel Quinto Martin leaves that championship behind Adam, who is no longer the 10K legend we know, but he's still the number 1 car. Daniel Ortuga also there interfered with Raul Roche's Guardia just ahead of Tim Bertie. Then it's Javier Sanchez in 6th, Jesus Cabal in 7th, Philip Burke will be 8th, Ricardo Martinez will be 9th, and Peter Stewapanki will be 10th. A reminder, this is the broadcast championship, not the official iRacing championship. If you come along on a Thursday and do the broadcast, you've got a chance to get your name in the points and maybe in the top 10.
Without a doubt. Of course, let's also take a quick glance at how the race itself is going to unfold, because, of course, this might have some new viewers watching.
Yeah, well, this is round 7, of course, and it's going to be 14 laps around here. So you're looking at about a 25, 30-minute race for those that need just for speed. open setups, but most drivers use similar setups all through the season, like the old days here. But it's a D-licensed series, which means you do get a spare car. And hopefully you don't need to go into the pits to use said spare car. Key thing, though, is as it is D-licensed, we don't have the drive-throughs. The short race, it's 17 incident points is a disqualification. Hopefully we don't see that today. It's not a track really that you can really cut the corner to get the off-track. If you're going to get an off-track, it's going to be a little bit of a long term out there. So let's just hope that doesn't happen. Qualifying is going on at the moment, and some of the drivers are out there. And let's look at this track. It's really nice to have one of these old tracks in Australia going around and giving us the chance to just see the heights. I say the heights and the hills. Of course, there is elevation change here, but as you can see, not a lot of elevation change out here on a very hot track. And I say hot because 36 Celsius, 97 Fahrenheit for qualifying. First drivers are coming through here at the moment. Tim Bertie, who's in pole position. And Joe, this is a track as old as days can be. And it's going to be interesting to see what the drivers can do as Adam Miles now, the number one car, will start to make his way through. And hopefully he manages to probably gain that 10k iRacing back. Maybe not today, maybe some other time. But comes around the southern loop into turn 2. Look at the elevation change, almost adverse camber at some point, and then he'll come into turn 3 to Stoner Corner. After the famous racing driver, of course, not what people will be thinking. Get your head out the gutter as they come around now turn 3 and into this hard braking zone. A lot of drafting will be happening today, and this is where the biggest overtaking point will happen. In to Miller at turn 4. Get it right, and you may see some drivers at the start use that little runoff to their advantage to just get a better angle to open the corner up. Turn 5 they just had. This is Siberia into 6, and now you start to look at going up the hill. And you just start to see all the momentum that Adam is putting. Now they're into 7, now they're into 8. Officially on iRacing, this is a 12 corner track as you saw, and he comes up the hill to Lucky Heights, or Lukey Heights, sorry. There is no C there, but I do see the C in the distance. He won't need that at the moment. Comes over the hill, and then another hard braking. You do see the 50 board. That's all you get for braking around here. Down into turn 10. Sharpest corner on the track. And then around for 11. And now it just starts to just open up a little bit. It's going to be more full throttle around here. As we see the times already coming in. Otuga taking the current provisional pole position for the first of 2 laps. But this is flat down now. Make sure you got the balance in the car. Make sure the wing is there. And Miles for the first lap come across the line very shortly, because remember the start finish line's at the end here, not at the start, but it is a 48.317, just 7 thousandths slower than Daniel Otuga, and Jeff Randall just comes in with a 48.462. A lot of drivers have got a lot of time to find out in the next minute 50. So we got Jeff Randall just heading on by, and now he's just going to look for it. The Englishman trying to find some routes. And if you're just wondering today, it's a 5,169 strength for field as Randall. Different line as we were talking about. More of a bit of a slide at the rear there into Miller Corner at 4, and then opens up the corner. Just trying to keep my eyes to see if anyone is going faster at the moment, but nothing yet. But what can Miles find? Otuga will be the first one to really step the time, because you've got 4 stragglers at the back. Remember, it's separate qualifying, of course, but everyone always tries to get out at the same time. 4 stragglers at the back, all setting their times. The first one that will be really interesting to see will be Martin as we keep watching Otuga. Martin's going to come across the line. He does improve up into P2. Bertie then jumps up into pole position, and Otuga needs to find something, and he does, but it's not going to be fast enough to knock off Tim Bertie. Now Jeff Randall, what can he do? I don't know if Randall's going to be able to do much more. Got a couple corners left to go, but that means Adam Miles down into 4th. Hansen into 5th. Guardi will be 6th. What can Randall do? The Englishman with the green and the blue. That's Australian colours down in Australia today. Struth, mate. Randall comes across the line. It's not faster. All eyes down the number 1 car. Adam Miles will come across the line. He needs to find a 10th and some more. And he does. He breaks the 48-second barrier. And he is pole position by a staggering 2/10. That is the lap of a champion. JD Rodriguez will come up into P3. Phillip Burke looks to be one of the last men to settle lap time. And it's going to be all for naught. He's got a minute 12 to go, so he does have the time. So Phillip going to be going up the hill. Remember, when you think about it, this is where they use supercars as well. So the supercars really having to work their magic up this hill. But with these cars, oh, look at the twitch. And that's that elevation change, putting the weight transfer, the weight going to the wrong tire there, looking to get around. And just look at that steering. And this isn't trying to counteract. This is just putting the little adjustments you need. And this might be a round wheel in the real world, but you know a lot of sim racers will be using these cars on Formula style real wheels, getting a lot more of the feeling that they want out there today. It will come across the line, needs to find something good to try and even get into the top 5, and it's a 48.5. That's going to not improve anything. So we have 19 cars, and we have 19 qualifiers, which means Adam Miles will be pole position with Tim Bertie beside him on row 2. JD Rodriguez, the number 17 car, is in P3 with Daniel Atuga into 4th. Then Miguel Quinto Martin will be in 5th with yet Dennis Johansson in 6th. Rarosh's Guardia will be 7th with Heike 360. Javier Sanchez in 8th. Jeff Randall will be 9th and Steph Herman will be 10th. And then the last 9 cars on the list will be Phillip Burke in 11th. Jesus Cabal will be 12th. Pablo Hogla will take 13th with Darman Romario, in 14th. Josephine Becker will be 15th. Ricardo Martinez will take 16th. Then Peter Sopanki, 17th. Julio Torres in 18th. And Philip Pritchard for the Potato Nation. I see you all up there in 19th place. So, Joe, it's going to be an interesting here. Adam Miles setting the standard so far. Can he keep that up for the race?
Exactly. That's always the big test, especially at a slipstream track such as this. Thanks, everybody, for your patience there. Hopefully I'm back for good now, but as we wait for them to grid up, I think the big question mark is going to be, how is it going to play out on this long Gardner straight? We have to remember that it is very easy to slipstream behind other cars at this track, especially down into Dewan Corner, which is pretty much flat out, I would think, in these cars.
One would think they're flat out, but you just got to get that weight balance and that weight transfer right to set yourself up for the Southern Loop. It's a long straight, though, and you think you've got your big straights so early in the lap. All comes down to this first corner, really, to see who wants to take the lead.
Exactly. Miles, Bertie, Rodriguez, Otuga, they all know how to play this game. But who will play it best by the end of 14 laps? As it looks like the lights are up, the engines start to rev here for round 7 at Phillip Island, and the green flag is out. As they accelerate away, it looks like Miles has a pretty decent start, but he covers the inside immediately, and look at everybody follow as they try to use that slipstream to get close to him. Looks like it's going to be a challenge for the lead as Tim Bertie manages to get side by side down at Dewan into the Southern Loop. Will that inside help him completely take the lead away? Yes, it does.
I'm not so sure about it, though. I'm not so sure. Because now, actually, Miles is now losing out on the outside there, and the track's not rubbing in. And he's going to go side by side with JD Rodriguez. And that car is going to be very interesting because we may go de facto 3 wide here. In fact, we are. Very early 3 wide going into this corner. This is the big corner of the track. And they'll go 3 wide, and JD has to go the long way around here at Miller Corner, and it's not worked for him. The inside, he may have got there later, belongs to Miles. Side by side, though, they still go. And look at that, 2 by 2 by 2 by 2 by 2 by 2. Have you ever seen anything like this after 3 corners at Phillip Island?
It's been a long time since I've seen one looking this wild early on. Miles getting oh so close. This is up through Hayshed. It's difficult to try and line it up as they come up to Lukey Heights because it is a decreasing radius corner, up and over an off-camber crest, but Miles somehow makes it work. Now it's Birdie versus Rodriguez coming down into MG Hairpin. Birdie round the outside. You're always going to lose out by taking that line, and Rodriguez is now up into P2. But somehow, despite everybody attacking, it looks like Miles is going to lead the end of lap 1. Look at the scrap, though, for 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th.
I think Otuga, he had a little bit of a tap there with Bertie. I think Bertie just washed out a little bit, and cars still trying to work their way through here. We've still got almost a 2x2x2x2 again in the back, and just look at them. The leaders are pretty happy with this because JD won't matter too much about this, and we'll see what the drivers want to do around the two-hand corner. Now they're up to speed. Some of them taking a little bit of a lift, some of them attacking. That allows Otuga to get back up a position. Johansson loses out, and wide goes Rodriguez, and he just clips the grass, and any more grass there, I think he would have just been caught out. Another driver getting caught out with Javier Sanchez, with a little bit of a tag there, I believe, with Guardia or Romero.
Shows you that even though the speeds might not be as high as you see with more powerful cars, they are still right on the edge into the braking for the second time now, down into Miller. And usually that can cause a lot of problems, and it does this time as we got cars clattering into one another. I think Rodriguez and Birdie are out of this. Someone taking to the grass to try and avoid. That looked like Sanchez that somehow gets away with it. Meanwhile, Jeff Randall almost getting pushed off to the side out of Siberia. Boy, things got ugly early for a few drivers.
Yeah, Tim and Miguel, their tires locked together there. And then Tim just caught too much of the green AstroTurf after the curve, and that just sent him around. And JD had to take a tow there. I think he got a broken wing. Probably could have kept on going, but very tough to do that. And meanwhile, in the background, I think Tim Birdie trying to avoid an incident there with some other drivers. But Pablo Hogler, good start for him. Up 7 positions. Romario up 9 as well. And you were thinking, you were correct there. The person that had to take a little dive to the grass was Javier Sanchez. He gets away with it, but that incident has allowed these three to really pull ahead. And don't forget Martin, he's still in the slipstream here, and he's technically pulling everybody together here. Meanwhile, the leaders go side by side, and Johansson decide it's not worth it.
We're going to see that a lot coming into doing. This time, though, Johansson replacing drivers like Birdie, Rodriguez. There is almost an unexhaustible supply, it feels like, of drivers that are probably going to be catching up unless he is able to break that slipstream. Granted, it does look like the top 4 are starting to cut away somewhat. Johansson, rather, looking to the inside of Miller, manages to get a little bit of a wheel in the 5, tries to outbrake Adam Miles. He has a nose ahead coming off of Miller, but it switches back into Siberia. And it looks like Miles decides not to fight it. He gets back in line in second as now we switch back to the attention of Hoglar.
And these three were going 3 wide down into Miller Corner. And I think that's the 3rd lap in a row out of 3. We've got a 3 wide down into Miller Corner, and something has to give. And you see right behind, they're still trying to work their way up. But now, what do we see as a movement by the leaders? I think Miles would just hold on to it. These three still trying to decide. They're sliding over that corner, and there was a wheel touch there between Romario and Guardia. And Guardia is trying to break, and he's taking a different line, and he's also got he doesn't have the grip with that slide there. And it was an unfortunate push to punt there, not on purpose by Guardia, just a little bit getting caught out there. Remember, hard braking, everyone with different brake powers, different everything, and now Randall decides to shoot the hole onto the inside there at turn 12. That's a very good move with all the speed, but it does open you up for some more 3 wide shenanigans. And boys, girls, I know that these are open wheelers. You can't go 4 wide though, surely not 4 wide down the Gardner straight.
They're going to try it. They're going to go back to 3 wide, though, as they slot into doing once again 2 wide now. They were wise on that one. Somebody once again going off into the grass just barely with 2 wheels. You can maybe get away with that in these cars, but faster machinery, I don't think so. Meanwhile, back up to the lead, Miles versus Johansson. Otuga and Martin are the ones holding on, but they have dropped the gap to those behind fourth place to nearly 2 seconds. Otuga, with a front row seat coming down into Miller, tries to throw his hat in with Miles, but Miles is able to take the spot away from Johansson. He's our new leader.
He's our new leader. Meanwhile, in the background, that free wide happened again, and Randall got tangled by, Jeff Randall, tangled Steph Herman, and Herman went around as well. Not what anybody wants to see. Probably a little bit too much aggression heading down into Miller Corner by some of the drivers right now, and I think that's what's causing some of the incidents. But the leaders still trading, and we expected this. But what we didn't expect was just to be 2 drivers making this move, because you've got Otuga and Martin. They're happy enough to see this. Hoglar's nowhere near because of what's been happening in the middle of the field. So you've got the 4 drivers here just waiting for the opportunity. There's Javier Sanchez managing to avoid that incident I was talking about, but still, he's the only man with Guardia and Miles to not gain or lose any positions. He's the net 0 at the moment, and he's still fighting on, trying to find that inside line. It's worked for Randall. It's worked for Sanchez. Really good. The leaders, once again, side by side. You look one way, and they're side by side. You look another place, they're side by side.
The other thing I noticed is it looks like Hoglar has started to pull himself away from that second group and is trying to catch back up. So here's the replay of what took out a few major players up at the top, just tangling with one another, unfortunately, as does often happen in these open wheelers. You can't get too spicy pushing and shoving out there. Speaking of which, you said push to punt earlier. That sounds like the way less popular version of push to pass.
Yeah, it's not the way you really want to say that. I was trying to find the right words for it. It wasn't a slide job. It wasn't a push job, but it was just one of those. It was not not what Guardia wanted, and I think just the car not being balanced because he had that little tangle and he had that little slide just caused it. As we're going to look at another replay just quickly while the drivers just come on by. This was Herman, and I understand the thing, and I think what happened was the tap from behind, just as he goes to start braking, just upset the car there, and then they interlocked. They were just going so fast. So I saw Herman get on the radio. I didn't hear what it was, but I'm hoping that he may understand that it wasn't on purpose, and it wasn't someone trying to make an ambitious dive. It was just that little tap on the rear, similar to what happened to Guardia coming up here at Lukey Heights, just losing the balance of the car and the braking just causing a little bit of an issue.
So now following this top group, still 4 of them. How far back is Hoglar? About 1.9. So he's not gaining, it looks like, but he is at least breaking off of Jeff Randall there, who also looks like he might be able to stretch away. Meanwhile, still swapping positions around 9th and 10th spot here. Romero, I think that's Cabal just in front of him. Guardia, somebody going wide at Swan Corner and somehow getting back onto the track without turning it around. Back up to Johansson, who has now been slotted into second. Josephine Becker in the melee as well, tries to swing around the outside of Romero, taking that spot into the southern loop, and now she is into 9th.
Yeah, I think what happened, Romero there just got a little bit of the car got a little bit unsettled and tried to correct it, and corrected it too much and went into the side there of Guardia. And Guardia losing out the leaders. No, they're not losing out. They're keeping it hard and respectful. Still, somehow, remember, these are 4 drivers that have been trading time. They were half a second faster than Hoglar, and Hoglar's basically bubble racing at the moment, and very shortly he won't be, as Randall is going to be bringing Sanchez and Cabal and maybe Romero and maybe Becker, who just loses out to Romero as well. So keep an eye out on Hoglar, but these drivers still looking for it. And this is interesting because remember, you go up the hill, technically the car at the front is going to be losing when you go to the up the hill. That's why Miles took that defensive line. He took a wider line to enter turn 9 there, so he could just counteract and make sure that inside line here for 10 was not going to be taken here from Johansson. He's going to have to reset and recharge, and I do wonder if this is just a plan to see what happens at the end of the race for a drag race.
That's kind of what I'm thinking, if I'm honest. It seems like Johansson knows how to play the game. They have traded back and forth, but it seems to happen here on the Gardner Straight. Let's see if it happens again. And if he does make an easy pass, then yeah, I think they're working together. Behind them, Otuga not pushing the issue, also knows that there's not going to be much gained by slowing everybody down, although I think he just took the fastest lap of the race, it looks like. Martin steals it away from behind him, but Miles doesn't give it up to Johansson this time.
No, he doesn't. I'll tell you what was interesting was that Tuga just didn't even bother to use the overspeed. Where you're seeing these three wides, as we've got Josephine Becker in picture with Romero, Cabal, and Randall, and Sanchez there. Where earlier we saw the three wides, he used the momentum. He didn't want to use that this time. So the moment he knew wasn't going to make a shot here, he just backed out right away and just stayed in the draft. And again, didn't want to look to make a move here. The door's a little bit open, but Miles shuts it early. Because Tuga's playing it safe, you can't blame him for playing it safe right now. Just deciding it's not worth looking for any move at the moment. Probably buying his time because remember the golden rule here, Joe. Car in third is usually the best car to win on a draft race.
If they time it right, mind you. There's no guarantees. It's just you've got an excellent opportunity if you can manage to set it up. And so far, I think Daniel is in a great position to do so. And we know he knows how to win these races. He follows in line, plunging over the crest and down the hill. It's a huge, steep drop into there, and hard to get the car loaded up in time, but no problem for all three of these drivers as we now follow them onto the main straight. It does look like maybe the lead is finally settled down a little bit. Everybody's thinking big picture. And it only took him, it looks like, half the races. We're past lap 7 into 8 now.
Yeah, I wonder if some drivers are getting a little bit too aggressive, but look at that. Johansson's got nothing with the slipstream. And the key thing is if they did this on the last lap, because the finish line is so far up the road, Miles crossed the finish line first. So that's going to be one to keep your eyes out. Pablo Hogla also losing time now to Javier Sanchez. And I think Javier's now saying, all right, had your fun. I want to get going attacking now, and this isn't the type of series where you've got to talk about tire wear because the drivers slide around so much, and these are old school slimline groove tires. But one must think that Javier might be saving something in the tank for this because it's only now he's really starting to open his wings.
Looking at a group led by Randall currently. Oglar has been sifted back into the third of the train. That's Sanchez between those two. Then you've got Cabal, Romero, Becker, and I think Torres as well. No, it looks like it stops with Becker at the back of this group of cars. But any one of them could manage to take fifth place, which is what they're vying for currently. They've lost touch with Martin up in fourth by about 3.3 seconds. Unless there is a huge fight or an accident, it's unlikely they're going to catch the leaders.
Well, never say never, but we hope not to. With another driver trying to make a little bit of a dive in there, and I think that was Romero, trying to look for a move, but no avail. And Sanchez taking a really different line around the final corner here to really just holding up Hoglar there. So wonder what's going to happen there. Picture in picture lead battle, and no surprise, new leader is Tuga. But as he comes to Johansson, sorry, I got that wrong. And interesting again is he took the lead. So I do wonder here, Joe, as they almost look like they're going 3 wide in the background, that they're not. Trust me, they're staying at 2 wide. I wonder then, does Miles want to play this game if he wants to win the race? Because whoever comes to the start line in second wins the race at the moment.
And that's kind of where I wonder if Adams will give it up come the penultimate lap or somewhere around there. Will he allow Johnson easily by? Because so far, he's staying ahead, and maybe he prefers it that way, just leading the race for now, because there's no point in him getting caught up in accidents if he's behind anybody. So we continue to keep an eye there up in the upper right corner of that group. Looks like Johansson did take the spot this time, and I think that was maybe coming into Miller that he was able to sneak by. So interesting change of things. Wonder if Miles has that as part of his plan, or if that was just Dennis being a little bit more forceful.
Yeah, I don't know. It was actually, Miles probably just gave it up there, just looking back, and I think that might just be the grand scheme of things. The grand scheme of things for Josephine Becker is trying to get into the top 10. And Whoa, late dive. Well, I say a late dive. Really good slide there from Jesus. You say the push to pass. It's not a slide job per se, but these cars are sliding around and he got the overtake done. You could argue it's not the definition, but you could say that's a good old-fashioned Skip Barber slide job there, Joe.
Exactly. These cars love to slide, and that's part of why they've been so popular over the years, even after they've been replaced now in the real world and even in the sim as the official Skip Barber car. He still has a very avid community that loves to race each other here as we hop on board with Martin. Now, is he the dark horse here? We've talked about Otuga, we've at length discussed Miles and Johansson, but we haven't really talked about Martin, who we also know is extremely quick, and he has been making no moves that we've been seeing.
But at the same time, the only way I see Martin really going for getting this is if there's an incident. And let's be brutally honest, these drivers drive each other, have been driven against each other for so long now. The respect is there, and they also know the name of the game. Just look at that. Miles just lifted before Miller Corner at turn 4 there to allow Johansson to get back on the racing line. He knows what's at stake here. He knows that this is the best way to go, and you can have it, Dennis. And it's interesting because once again, he crossed the start line in the lead. Johansson retakes the lead back into Miller Corner. Nothing happens here going up Lukey Heights. And then Miles retakes the lead again. So I think we're seeing a pattern here, Joe. And like I said, that's why I just don't see Martin really having a shot here.
Yeah, he does seem a little bit farther back at this stage. That's a good point. But yeah, Adam Miles backing off, I think that is a big clue in this mystery. I think he's now putting himself exactly where he wants to be. He's led for a while, kind of knows where things sits, and he saw that Johansson consistently beat him to the start-finish line. So, does he have the same chutzpah to be able to pull the move back on him now?
Do you know what? I think Adam's too far behind. I don't know if Adam's got this here. And in fact, remember the start line is quite late. And, well, I say that the overspeed has completely taken it. Yeah, just would have got it. In fact, if they cross the line like that, Joe, 0.003 is what it says on the timing tower when they cross the line. I think he was leaving that to the last minute if that was going to be the move. Behind them, Jeff Randall still looking to get some moves. He gets past Javier, and I think Javier and Rando and Hoglar, they kind of have to accept right now that this is where they're going to be for the rest of the race. All the fighting early on has cost them. You see it's a tune of 5-6 cars. Maybe they could all just have a little bit of entertainment, but again, some drivers will be gaining iRating, some will be losing iRating. Otuga will just be watching, yet again, the Texas two-step.
It's not a game of inches, it is a game of milliseconds at times here with these cars. As Hoglar once again shuffled backwards a little bit, Sanchez and Randall just in front of him. He's having to fight off Romero, who looks around the outside. That is extremely tough to do at Siberia, and he gets a hip check from Cabal. In the meantime, the two will continue their battle, trying to decide the 8th place, and it switches back and forth. A steep climb uphill here through Hayshed and into Lukey Heights, but it looks like the inside will go to Cabal. Will they once again make contact? It looks like there was a little bit. He's trying to hang tough, but Romero does not have the grip and speed.
Romero's going to go into this, and they lock tyres again. And more tyres, and, well, that was a very questionable dive right back in. I hope that was a loss of control there for Romero, because that was very questionable. Pritchard, unfortunately, has to take a tow in the background, and, well, if you know the story, you know the story. They're going to do this once again as they come across the start line. The gap this time is 0.013, not 03. So, rinse and repeat. Daniel keeps looking at this, Joe. Not a lot he can do. They're just going to have to keep accepting it, and nothing changes in the other pack either. So, very interesting to see.
I don't know about that, because Becker has now lost touch with Hoglar. So I get the feeling that maybe that second pack is broken up into two. Things definitely have changed if that's the case over there. We'll watch that in a little bit while we continue to follow 3 laps to go between Miles, Johansson, Otuga, and Martin. Dennis back up to the top spot as he slices in front of Adam Miles.
well, rinse and repeat again. I just feel like we're seeing this over and over, and this has to be what Miles is doing. And if you look at it, if he keeps doing this, it's going to work for him. Raul Roche's Guardia, he's trying to really just make some time back up here, because unfortunately, after that little hit, lost a lot of time. He's down here with Peter Suapanki. 3 cars, because Tim Bertie's right behind. That really you should be expecting to see at the front, but that's the nature of how competitive this race has been. We know, Joe, on a normal car with normal sizes, normal speeds, this is the track that's tough for overtaking. This is one of the easiest tracks to overtake for a Skip Barber. I've got to question some drivers being a little bit too aggressive too early today.
Exactly. I think that cost them some time. You really wanted to stay with that lead pack. 4 of them managed to do that. They'll get the popsicle sticks with 2 to go as they cross the line here shortly. Who is going to wind up ahead amongst the quartet? Meanwhile, watching back with Randall, Hoglar, Sanchez trying to squabble for the 5th position. They're going to go 3 wide across the line.
3 wide across the line. The inside will belong to Randall. The middle is the lime green of Pablo Hoglar. And you can see that Javier decided it's not worth it. He just backed out of that right away behind them. Of some more of a side-by-side battles going. There they are. Josephine Becker now on the outside. Now the inside on Romero. And she gets that move done around the outside of Doohan. Is a fantastic move to be making. She's trying to catch back up to Javier Sanchez. They've lost a lot of time. Nothing yet. And even more, I'll tell you what, Joe, remember we were saying rinse and repeat? Johansson never went for the move at Miller.
19 cars started this race. 17 are still in the hunt right now. Watching the battle for 5th being led, the battle for 8th rather, with Romero leading this trio. Josephine Becker, the one practically pushing him through the corner. She is so close behind. And then Jesus Cabal has fallen back into the 10th spot of the 3. We switch back to our top 4 once more. It's going to be white flag, 1 to go. Look at him slide through Lukey Heights. All of them are pushing at 10 tenths, but at the same time, they know now they have to think big picture. Adam Miles leads. We said he probably does not want to be in that position, at least not at the finish. 1 lap to go. And he's not in the ideal spot.
Yeah, but again, Johansson never made the move into turn 4 that he was doing every lap for the last, 7 laps? And now Adam's being defensive. In fact, he's given the time up. If they cross the line right now to finish, it would be 007. And now, look who comes into party. Everybody's all bunched up here. Martin wants a little bit of this. They're going to all go 2 by 2 here. They've got the time to play with. And the animals are in the arc right now. And they're going really hard into this. And I wonder if Miles doesn't want this. I think he did not want to take this. If he doesn't have the lead into Miller, I think he'll concede it. But he's got the problem here, Joe, is everybody wants it. And Martin is looking to shoot the gap. He's gone into 3 wide. He's right down the middle with the overspeed. And he might be saying, I want this. He goes into Miller with the lead.
He's been playing possum. He looked like he was a bit slow in comparison, but he was able to make the move as soon as he wanted, essentially. Martin, your new leader. He's got Miles and Johansson behind, side by side, fighting each other. Will they have to get single file to try and make sure they don't lose touch with the number 3? He gets about a car length ahead of them here, but they will be able to reel him in, no doubt, before this is over. Otuga has no place to take anything. Track practically blocked with the 2 of them, despite how narrow the cars are. Now it's back up through the left-hander of Lukey Heights. Will he try and make it 3 wide into here? He thinks about at least trying to attack on Johansson, but again, no place to go. And still, Martin holds on to the lead, but who will get the slipstream between Miles and Johansson? Will either of them get enough of the slipstream to make it worth it? Or is Martin pulled a blinder on both of them, just a nose ahead here for Johansson on Miles, so he's got a better shot at it potentially. Oh, and they're going to make contact with Otuga in behind. Martin just barely ahead. Johansson starts to creep forward as they cross the line. Who's got it? It looks like it is Johansson. 8/800ths of a second over Miles in the end.
Dead heat top 4 decided by a 10th. .086 for Miles to Johansson, .093 for Martin to Johansson, .154 for Otuga to Johansson, and more drivers looking to make moves. Sanchez looked to try and get a nice run there, but I'll tell you what was interesting, they were all looking for the same spot there, Joe. I don't know if you saw that. Miles gave a little bump to Johansson there. By accident, he gave Johansson the bump draft. We're getting all NASCAR terminology today if we are. What a move. A little bit of a mistake there. It gives Johansson the victory.
Oh, fantastic stuff between them all. And it is Johansson, your winner over Miles, with Martin rounding out the podium. Otuga, even with 4 cars, only separated by 0.15 of a second. It was Jeff Randall who came home 5th in the next battle behind, 0.03 of a second there over Hoglar, with Sanchez finishing in 7th. Romero was P8, Jesus Cabal 9th, and Josephine Becker rounds out the top 10.
And then Torres, Julio Torres will be in 11th, with Ricardo Martinez in 12th. Tim Bertie had to try and make a recovery, but finishes in 13th. And Guardia, with his recovery, just beating Suapanki in 14th, who comes home in 15th. Suapanki, sorry. Steph Herman will be 16th. Phillip Burke will be the last driver racing, because Phil and Pritchard retired with 4 laps down, and Jada Rodriguez, after that crash with Bertie, did not come back out onto the track.
Well, this gave us pretty much exactly what we expected here today, and it looks like second place finisher Adam Miles is ready to chat with us after that. Maybe he can help enlighten us on what the plan was, because Adam, we were watching, and for a while it seemed like you were happy to hold on to the lead. You were defending at times, keeping Johansson back there, but then it started to trade once again late on. What was the original plan, and then talk us through what happened.
Oh, I mean, Phillip Island's a track where you can't plan anything really until the last lap. There's really 3 sort of quote-unquote straights on the lap, so down the main straight, and then on the run to, I guess, turn 4, and then another one in the final sector. So, yeah, I mean, you can come from 4th and win, you can come from 3rd, you can go from 1st to 4th, so it was really just a case of don't want to be 4th coming out the last corner, but you can do it from 3rd, you can do it from 2nd. I didn't want to be leading, so it's really just, you got to see who's doing what, and then just play it by ear as you go through that final lap.
It certainly looked frantic from our perspective. As you guys started to fight there at the end, you and Dennis were going side by side a lot. Did that worry you that Miguel might be able to run away?
It crossed my mind. I mean, I can race side by side with Dennis all day long, so I didn't think we would lose so much time that he would get a sort of, you need really about a 0.5 of a second gap coming out the last corner, and I knew he didn't have it, but I was also on the outside of Dennis, which I knew was probably going to not be in my favour, and then, yeah, just coming down the final straight, everyone's jostling, no one wants to lift, everyone wants to box the other in, so just did what I could, kept my foot in, and yeah, we made it all across the line in one piece.
So after this, we're going to go to a track that I wouldn't consider super popular on iRacing, Oschersleben. What are your feelings heading into what is a very technical course?
I'm really looking forward to it. It's a track where there are very few overtaking opportunities. It's difficult to make a move into turn 1 because it's so fast, and you're almost immediately switching back to do the right-hander of turn 2. So I think if I can get it on pole, I think there's a good chance I can probably stay there for most of the race, but there's a couple of big ifs in there.
There's always a lot of ifs in racing, unfortunately, but I'm sure we'll get them sorted out in time. At least congratulations on a second place and a well-run race.
Thank you.
It was Adam Miles finishing P2. And I believe that's going to close us out for today. We, of course, want to give a big thank you to the Skip Barber community for bringing us back for another season of coverage. Also, make sure and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss a moment. That, of course, includes the likes of Craig King, Christian Duploy, and Dougie Beard helping us out behind the scenes to make this all happen. Our next race, like we mentioned, is Oschersleben, and that is going to be on February 5th. But then after that, we've got more racing in slightly more powerful cars with the Grand Prix Legends going to Long Beach. Make sure to check out our other races that you can see here on the channel. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.
This is iRacing.